Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Future Dimensions 360. As you guys know, in our last tutorial, we had learned about fragments in detail. So in our current tutorial, we will be learning about pure components. What are pure components? How pure components are different from normal component. Let me go ahead quickly and create one pure component. I will go to my components folder and try to create one pure comp.js, one pure components. How you can create pure component with React snippet is RPCE. It will create a pure component for you. As you guys can see directly, what is the difference appearing here is we are extending our class with pure component class instead of component. This is the normal difference. Let me go ahead to my app.js and try to import this pure component in my app.js file. So as you guys can see in my browser, pure component is appearing here. There is no difference. Now at this time, every one of you will be thinking that what is the difference between pure component and normal component? Why we are using this? So I will be moving forward and explaining you in detail what is the difference with in both of these components with the help of one example. Let's go ahead and try to create another component called a regular component regcomp dot JS. That will be RCE React class snippet. Normal component is imported and I can say regular component. Okay. So I had created a regular component. Pure component is already created. I will create one more class called parent component.js. So I had created another class. I will create RCE and then inside that one I'll create one state rconst constructor. Inside that one I'll create a name and the name will be equivalent to future dimensions 360, and I will be importing my both components here inside my parent component. What I will do here is I will import my pure component. For example, I will say h1 I am parent component, and I'll import my first of all my pure component, and then I will import a regular component. So both components are imported here already. Let me go to my app.js. Let me try to remove pure component from here and I will import my parent component in my app.js file. So let's go ahead and see in my browser. Parent component is here. Inside that one we have two component. One is pure component and one is a regular component. So let me try to let me try one thing. I will say like here components did mount. I'll create component did mount, and inside component did mount I'll try to update the state by using set interval. I will set interval. I will pass an arrow function. Inside arrow function I'll say this dot set state, and the set state will be just states, just do something like change the state to same name after every 2 seconds. Now you guys can see here, and then instead of 2000, I will say it should be 1 second. Sorry, it should be here. And in set state, as you guys see, like we are passing arrow function later on. Again, if we want to do anything after setting up of the state. Let me go ahead to my inspector. I'll show you. I'll try to just reload the page. Sorry to say, I'll try to reload the page. And here we are. Until now, you guys don't know the difference between pure component and regular component. So, ready guys? Let's go ahead and try to show you the differences. Let me go to my parent component. Inside render function, I will say console.log. Inside this, I will try to add some stars, and inside these star, I will say parent component render. Okay, and then I will just go to my regular component. Same thing I will do here. Instead of the star, I will just add some dashes, and here as well I will add some dashes, and I will say this is a regular component render. And then I will go to my pure component. I'll try to import this one here as well, and here I will say pure component render. Now let's go ahead and try to reload. You guys can see first my parent component is rendered, then my pure component is rendered, then my regular component is rendered. Now my parent component is changing his state. Once the parent component will change the state, the render function will be called as we learned in our React lifecycle, and then the children component lifecycle will be called also. But once it's updating the state, the after first time, the pure component is called first time only. After that, only regular component is calling. The pure component is not calling. The pure component lifecycle or render method is not re-rendering. Why? Because there is no change in the state. There is no change. You can see it's same. We are setting up the state same. So what happened here is pure component is a component that extend to specific function that we will go on and see here. Now what is the difference between regular component and pure component is a regular component that does not implement to should component update that we learned in our life cycle, and it always return by default true, and your life cycle is always running like re-rendering and re-rendering. As soon as you are setting up the state, it never checks any differences between the state. It always re-render your render method. Always call your render method. On the other hand, the regular component is a pure component. Sorry, on the other hand, pure component. Sorry to say, I forgot to write here regular component, pure component. On the other hand, it's implemented with should component update and check between the states and props. They make shallow comparison, and if the comparison is true, they said no need to re-render the function anymore, and it will boost your performance very fast. For example, if you have thousands of elements and you are re-rendering them again and again, in case you are not using pure component, it will be re-render again and again. If you are using pure component, it will not be re-render until and unless you will not do any change in your props or state. Let me show you what shallow copy is. What is shallow comparison? Shallow comparison, let's go ahead and try to talk about it in two different types. One is primitive type and one in complex type. In primitive type that I showed you in my example last, that shallow B returns true if A and B have the same value and same data type. Sorry. For example, in our case, the data type for the state variable name is string and the value is future dimensions 360. Secondly, that the once we update it, it's same as string and same value was there. So we are returning true in that scenarios. Like for example here, both scenarios it's string and same name. So primitive data type will be primitive type shallow comparison will be when your values and their data types will be same. But in complex types, it will be returning same only, true only if the reference for first object will match to the reference for the second object. Like how in case of list, we have one list A, we have another list B. Although the elements are same in these two lists, but both of them have separate different references. So if you will do comparison between A and B, it will return false in shallow comparison. If you will make like let's C equals to A, that means you are giving the reference of A to C. When you will do shallow comparison in A and C, it will always return true, although later on you will add some other values to C, but it will always return true. In case of object, same you will see, although A and B objects are same in first two line, but the shallow comparison will be false because both of them have different references. But C and A have same references in the memory. So let's go ahead and try to tell you what pure component is actually. A pure component, on the other hand, implements should component update. This is the function from the class lifecycle with a shallow props and state comparison. What it will do is it will shallow comparison. It will make a shallow comparison between previous state and current state, then previous props and current props. If there is any difference happen, then it will be re-render. Otherwise, it will never re-render. Let's go ahead and try to tell you here. For example, what is happening here? It's our this is our parent component class. In the parent component, first time the value is there. Secondly, when we are updating the value, it's same value, the string, and then the value is almost same as well. So once this is going towards here in the render, this change render will call parent component is a normal component. It will get true from should component update, and it will call the render method. Once it's go here, pure component inside it. So you will say like once it's gone inside the pure component, and in the pure component, when it will check, there is no update in the props. Props is there is no update in the state. So whatever the state is there in the parent, so no need to call this pure component any lifecycle method. So let me go ahead in my parent component and try to do one thing. I will change this to pure component and I will just copy this one and try to paste it here. Let me go into my browser and I will try to rerun, and you will see now first time parent component is called, then pure component render is called, then regular component render is called. Now my parent is as well pure component, and parent will check his state, like either the state is same as previous one, so it will say yes, the state is same as previous one, no need to re-render. So it will not re-render anything, so my child will not be re-rendered anymore. Let's go ahead and try to learn by today what we have learned. What we have learned is we can create a component by extending pure component class. It should be a pure component. A pure component implements should component update lifecycle method by performing a shallow comparison on props and state of the component. If there is no difference, component will not be re-render and it will give you really a big performance boost. It's very good idea to ensure that all children components are also pure to avoid unexpected behavior. Make sure if you are using pure components, don't mutate any state and don't mutate any props. Always return a new object of state and props. Why? Because the references must be new to re-render your child component. Otherwise, your changes will not reflect to the browser. Never mutate the state, always return a new object that reflect to the new state. So I hope you guys understand pure component in detail. If in case of any question, please don't forget to please you can openly comment us and send us mail in our mailbox. Don't forget to subscribe and like our channel. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.